episode 11, and we got the USL's Iron Man, Hugh Roberts II, talking about his historic career, the United Black Players of USL, and the new gig at the US Soccer Foundation. Welcome to On the Line. It's your boy Priestley with Hugh Roberts II, the Iron Man of American soccer. He's got an 11-year pro career. Hugh retired as the all-time minutes leader in USL championship history and is a former all-league defender. But his legacy is even bigger off the pitch. A co-founder of the United Black Players of the USL, a media entrepreneur, and now a leader at the US Soccer Foundation. Hugh, welcome to On the Line.
It's an honor, my man. Thank you for having me.
Brother, the honor is all ours. We're going to talk about everything, but you are a hometown hero, my friend. So I want to start kind of at the beginning. I hear you grew up in Only.
Well, I actually grew up in Gaither. I went to the council in Only. It always says Only, but I'm actually from Gaithersburg.
Represent.
Yes, sir. Born in New York, though. Born in Queens. Mom's side's from Queens, New York. Was up there pretty much until I was 3 or 4 years old. Then we moved to Maryland. Went through the whole school system in Maryland, but definitely have deep ties to the New York area. And then my pops is Jamaican, straight from Jamaica, too. And so he was fortunate to get a company out in Maryland at the time, too, which moved us down to Maryland, too. But, yep, Maryland raised me, and that's where I am pretty much my whole life until I moved down here to Charlotte, North Carolina.
So a lot of the soccer life started right here in Gaithersburg. 4-year varsity athlete.
Correct, yep.
Talk about that time in high school. We have a lot of high schoolers here who would love to be sitting in your seat eventually.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a cool experience. At the council at the time, I don't think they do this anymore, but we have a freshman, JV, and varsity team. Just blessed. I was blessed to be a part of the freshman, JV, and varsity team. Played on all 3 teams my freshman year. I would say good council soccer at the time. It's different now. Good council soccer back then was just like a rec team, guys who didn't even play soccer, guys who just wanted to do soccer to stay in shape. And so when I came in, that's how it was in Notion. Julio Zarate was our coach. He was there for his first year too. And it was really a lot of running, a lot of pain that you have to get through with a school that's really not known for soccer. And then after the 4 years, we ended up finishing in second place my senior year. You know, was fortunate to do well. I was actually a striker at my time. So, you know, scoring a good bit of goals and, you know, getting, you know, decent recognition on that as well too. But, you know, it was definitely a blessing to be a part of varsity early on freshman year because that helped groom me, give me confidence, playing against older boys. I was only 13 going into high school, playing against 18-year-olds too. So definitely helped groom me as well too. And I'm a competitor, so I just raised my level no matter where it was, you know.
And you said you started off as an offense, yet you are known to be in defense. How did that transition occur?
Happened in college, actually. Went to George Mason University, played freshman year as a winger and striker. They only had 3 defenders that freshman spring season. They're like, who wants to give a chance? I didn't raise my hand. But they're like, you know, Hugh, why don't you give it a shot? At the time, we had 2 other strikers who were seniors. So, I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't have had time, but it would have been a fight. Probably would have come off the bench. So I was like, you know, let me take my chances where I'm trying to play. I'm always open to adjusting. I played as a 6 and center back my sophomore year, and then junior, senior year was officially a center back, and then I turned pro right after that. So it was really just like a whole whirlwind of transitions for me because, yes, I turned pro, but naturally I was never really a center back, so I had to do a complete 180 and learn some new things, you know?
I hear that, man. Very interesting, and also explains how you kind of have scored from the backfield as frequently as you have.
Exactly.
Super impressive. So let's talk about George Mason University. How was the experience? And I'm curious because is it student athlete or is it athlete student? And what's more important?
Are you saying George Mason student athlete or for me student athlete or athlete student first?
We'll go with George Mason and then we'll transition to what you think.
George Mason is a student athlete first, and this is what a difference is with a mid-major compared to like upper echelon schools who, you know, athletic first. They care about your academics. You have to maintain at least like a 3.0 GPA. Every freshman on every single team, sports team, has to do mandatory study hall hours, at least let's say 10 to 20 a week. So you have to walk. Now they got these scooters and stuff. You had to walk 30 minutes across campus just to go do student hours, and you had to make sure your hours were completed. If not, it would jeopardize your status on the team as well too. So little things like that to keep your standards, and you have to maintain going forward like a 2.5 GPA, which you might not seem like a big of a deal, but it definitely affects your standing with the team and your coach, you know, keeps onus on you, like, hey, we see all your grades are slipping, what's going on? We need to get you an advisor. You need to spend extra time with your classes. You need to miss practice. Like, we got to figure it out. But it's also emphasizing, your class comes first. So like senior year, you might have classes at 1:30, practice is done at 1. A lot of seniors from our freshman year leave practice early just to make the classes, and the coach understands that because he wants you to excel in class as well too. So those little differences in like a mid-major in comparison to a upper echelon school. For me personally,
Yeah.
I think it was a good balance. Definitely, and with that mid-major lifestyle, you're actually they accommodate for students as well, student housing, student living, student food. Get a lot of accommodations that way. So in terms of campus lifestyle, I really enjoyed the campus lifestyle too. So yeah, definitely. I'm an education person first. They
I
didn't
love
have
that.
those standards, I probably would have slipped up, probably wouldn't have cared. And I'm not saying I wouldn't have turned pro, but probably, who knows, wouldn't have played all 4 years because your grades are slipping up. But if someone holds standards on you, and my parents emphasized education as well too. So just looking back, I think that was a good environment for me to excel in academically and athletically as well too.
It really paid off for your career. I mean, on and off the pitch. We often talk about how the lessons learned on the pitch definitely translate to off. So, and here you are now retired, which we're going to get into that, but yet there's so much still going on in your world. I want to know a little bit more about the college years and the summer ball. You played for Baltimore Bohemians?
Yes, sir. Exactly.
That was now just an effort to stay in shape in off season?
Yeah, so every kid in college atmosphere and in high school now too, but you play summer. Pretty much if you think about it, right? Europe plays all year round. 10,
Okay.
11 months all year ball. We don't in America. In school you only play in the fall in Maryland for, high school balls, August maybe to October. Academies maybe, it's in season. So you have fall season, you have a break, you have spring season and summer's off. And so in order to stay in shape, keep your touches, that's where PDL comes into. Now it's like the USL2 league, but it's important as well to stay in shape. But it's also very competitive. And if you do it right, you play for the summer team that's going to work your way up to a pro as well too. So you normally play for like a pro team's summer team. Some people play for, Charlotte Independence, the summer team, or Louisville Cities or Tampa's, or like the MLS's PDL team. So then when you're in college, they can recruit you and start scouting you. And so when you finish, you're already up their pipeline and they've seen you and they scouted you as well too. So I definitely advise, don't just do any PDL team. Try to look for a team that's affiliated with like a pro club, or at least doesn't have to be MLS, could be Championship, League One, whatever. So at least you can start working your way up that ladder. So yeah, at the time, actually, before then in high school, Potomac my whole life, which is, I think Potomac's still around, which is Bethesda
Yep.
as well too.
Yep.
But a friend of mine, my roommate was Gaetan Caltabiano at the time, and he played for the Baltimore Bays, and he was like, "Yo," and I knew Baltimore Bays my whole life. I was their rivals pretty much growing up. But he was my roommate. He's like, "Hugh, we'd love to have you." I was like, "Man, it's time to join the boys. That's always beat me. You know what? Let me just join them a little bit too." So I joined them. Actually, my freshman year of college, we won the U19 national championship with the Baltimore Bays. And then after that, the PDL team formed. So all of us from the national team went to the PDL team, Baltimore Bohemians, our junior, senior years of college. So that was a great experience, man. Definitely Baltimore. I don't know why they don't have a pro team yet, but Baltimore Hub, it's a soccer community. It's very strong, and a lot of top quality players there as well, too.
I say bring it back. It would be amazing. So you then graduate from George Mason with a Bachelor of Science in Business Management, and you're turning professional all before the age of 21. That had to be a lot to kind of process and handle. How did you do it?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I actually took 2 semesters off when I turned pro. So, obviously finished senior year. My whole dream was MLS, 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 get to the pros. And honestly, USL didn't even start till the year before I finished. I'm not even that old, but it sounds old, but it just started the year before I finished college. So honestly, I really didn't even know too much about USL. I was 99 out of 100 on the MLS draft board. So, my chances of getting drafted wasn't high. It was just cool for me to be on the draft board. And so at the time I finished my senior year, this is the spring season, senior year, 2014, and had no opportunities, no chances. So me and three of my guys, we pretty much drove around the country, drove to Florida for a combine. Waste of time and money, I'm not going to lie. Didn't even hear back from the guys at all. Went to the Harrisburg City Islanders for 8 weeks straight, commuting from George Mason while I'm taking classes. At the end of the 8 weeks, I'm like, listen, like I can't keep commuting on my limited funds, and me and my homie are coming from George Mason. Like, what's going on? Like, okay, well, we're not interested in you. Look elsewhere. I went to Rochester Rhinos for open tryouts in the snow while I'm in school on the weekend. got cut, didn't make it as well too. And so then I went to, just being local. Richmond Kickers were local, and they kind of knew of me a little bit from George Mason. So they waived my tryout fee, but they still made me come to open trials. So pretty much every single USL club has open trials for the public. Everyone, still asks me to this day, what should I do? What route could go? I'm telling you, if y'all hungry and determined, just go to open trials. And I know that might seem like a pain, but that's how I started, and that gave me my break. And 11 years later, here I am. But I can also tell you that, a lot of players kind of need that as well too. It's all right to be in an environment where you can stand out, and it helped me stand out a little bit in the open trial. And it wasn't like, oh, all of a sudden they invited me and signed me a contract. They invited me to preseason. I had to try out for another 2 weeks with the actual first team. Then I was blessed with my first contract as well too. So when that happened, I'm still commuting from college. This is like March now. And I'm like, listen, guys, like I'm in school. Can you offer me a contract or not? Like I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And they were fortunate to offer me a contract. So from then I was just like, there's kind of no way right now with my schedule at school to continue on with the same classes. So I paused that spring and fall semester to focus as a pro. I took 2 years off. In my second year as a pro, I didn't go back to George Mason either. My third year, I commuted from Richmond to George Mason for one more semester. I did that 3 times a week. And the only way I could really do that is because I was going the opposite of traffic. So had some homies still on campus. I'll crash on campus, leave at 6 o'clock in the morning from Mason, and all the traffic is going to DC. I'm going away from DC, so it's smooth. Got to Richmond an hour and a half. After training, we're done at 10:30, 11 o'clock max. Go straight from training right back up to the DMV. No traffic really either. So thankfully, that was a smooth transition. But yeah, man, that's what I had to do to get my degree. And, my mom put emphasis on it as well, too. But I was like, that was probably one of the best decisions I could have done because it spoke to me, years later getting my MBA, and then definitely blessed me with this position as well too. I probably would say if I didn't have my degrees, I wouldn't even be here today with the foundation.
Absolute goosebumps. You know how to grind, never give up, which I think is super cool because it totally plays into you being the Iron Man of the USL. This is wild, but Hugh has logged in over 21,000 minutes on the pitch. To you, Hugh, what does that record represent beyond just the time on the field?
Yeah, I would say, personally, it's a big achievement to myself of staying, disciplined. I appreciate that. Staying disciplined to my routines of, stretching, rehab, eating right. I'm a pescatarian. I started that in COVID as well, to only eat seafood, so taking care of my diet. Just a testament to, my studious abilities of watching film and learn. Mind you, I wasn't a center back my whole life. So how did I even survive these 11 years was really, watching film every day of myself, being a hypocrite on myself, being like, Hugh, this isn't good enough. You got to do better, this and that. That first year in Richmond was very tough for me because I was a striker that just turned center back. And now as a pro, they're actually playing out the back. You got to break lines. You got to keep the ball. You got to be composed. And I didn't do any of that at George Mason. So it was just a testament to myself personally, to being a hard worker. My last 6 years of my career, I used to show up to training 1 hour before and do individual work with my assistant coach, and then stay 1 hour after training just to get better as a center back too. And it just was kind of a testament to the hard work I put in. So yeah, personally, it was a great achievement, definitely.
Man, well, your motto I hear is never panic, just adjust.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Can you share a specific moment in your career where that mindset saved you from a really tough situation?
Yeah, I have to dive deep into the archives, but we can just say it happens almost at every game, right? Like, say you do, a bad pass or a bad touch, and you think, dang, crap, like, obviously you shouldn't have done that. But if you can have a quick, mental memory where you forget that, and, you're able to adjust, or sometimes realizing that, a defender might have cut off that angle on purpose, and then you can adjust on the fly, and that might have cut off the pass, but then it created a whole new angle and a window that's an even better pass as well too. And those mindsets, I'm trying to think of a specific moment for you off the top of my head, but just having that mentality just helped me in every environment, even right now as a work environment as well, to being able to adjust. I'll think of an exact moment for you and I'll bring it back up. But no, that's definitely every single day while I was playing on that field, having that mentality helped me adjust, being open to different passes and different angles, and just willing to score some goals too with that.
I'm a pop. I always share with my younger players who are now teens, it's about being calm and composed. And I do believe that plays into the never panic, just adjust mentality.
Yeah.
So key for all players when you're on the pitch. And let me say, you have played for some iconic clubs where you mentioned the Richmond Kickers, Charlotte Independence, the first captain for the Monterey Bay FC. Curious, which of those stops felt most like home and why?
We can say those first 3 years in Charlotte were more of home. So I got my house here. I was fortunate to get my wife and I put some roots down here as well too. But my last year here in Richmond was not the best, so I won't say like that. I did 4 years here at the Independence. My last year was 2024. My first 3 was 2019, 20, and 21 before I went to California. So those first 3 years was the best home environment, but the best relationship I've had with a coach was definitely Monterey with Frank. Yeah, look, for sure. One of the most welcoming environments and most inclusive environments from a coach I've ever been a part of as well. To not just the fact that I was a captain, he made sure that everybody felt welcome. He's like a father figure to a lot of players. But for me personally, he had an open door mentality. We met probably 2 or 3 times a week, one-on-one, sitting in his office, closed the doors. He'd give me insights to the lineup, let me make decisions on trainings, lineups, just everything, check up on me. He even teared up in front of me as well too, voicing his frustrations with the club and ownership. So like, we were really deep. A coach that made me feel like home was him, but an overall organization and environment, those times were my first 3 years at Independence was definitely the most like home team environment for me.
Makes a lot of sense, and props to Coach Frank for sure out in Monterey. Now, speaking of being at home, you started off as a striker or offense, and then you ended up as center back. 6'4". I wish you were here with me in Maryland because I am only 5'10", so the picture would be absolutely wonderful. Hugh is known for his aerial presence and defensive organization. I'm curious, back there, who was the toughest striker you have ever had to mark in the USL?
In the USL, good question. And a good question. I'll give you overall. I'm sure you want to just focus on aerial abilities.
Just whoever's your toughest mark.
Yeah, I got to give props to first my guy Dane Kelly. He's the all-time leading goal scorer in the USL. I was always a battle with him one-on-one from my rookie year till we actually played together in Charlotte Independence as well too. Another one for me that's up there. Well, Mario Williams, Jamaican national team, plays for India 11, I think, right now. Definitely a tough one as well, too. Day to day, always battling with him, competing. Lancaster from Louisville is a top one as well, too. He's definitely, you got to make sure you're on your A game every single time. And I'll give you one more. Matthew Delicott from Richmond Kickers, OG legend, came from Ireland as well, too. Is probably the most challenging aerial wise I've ever had to deal with. The same height as me. He was a 9, but we were battling every single day in practice, talking crap, hitting up. If he jumped over me, he's gonna make sure I knew. If I jumped over him, I'll make sure he knew. But it was every single day like that, and it just raised my game. And now after dealing with him, I'm not saying I was ready for everybody, but after that I was like, all right, well now I understand. It was really timing. People think it's just straight athleticism, which is great, but you can still out jump somebody who can maybe jump higher you if you can time it better than they can. And so that's what Delicott taught me a lot, is the timing of your jump more so than the aerial ability and athleticism that you have. You still have to be able to time the jump too. So yeah, those guys were definitely top of my list.
Well, as a fan, you guys make the game beautiful and exciting and so fun to watch. We say thank you. So here, what's real important, I know for you, and we kind of talked about it with Coach Frank and out in Monterey, I want to get into social justice, advocacy, and all the stuff you're doing off the pitch. You co-founded United Black Players of the USL. That goes back to 2020, if I'm correct?
Correct.
Yep. And you've been a major voice and an advocate for equity in soccer, which I think is so needed. So thank you. I want to talk about the United Black Players, UBP. It was born during some intense social unrest. Tell us about the spark that made you realize the USL needed a dedicated organization for minority athletes.
Yeah, the spark happened during the same time George Floyd movement, when the NBA shut down, NFL shut down, everybody shut down. But I will say there's actually a lot of things kind of leading up to it beforehand. So it was just, the beauty of having my own podcast and brand as well too. So having my own podcast and brand, started this in 2018. COVID happened, shut down happened. I'm like, listen, I got my own brand. Why not talk about actual impactful stuff. I can use my platform to actually spread some good information. So I got like 10 to 15 black players from the USL and MLS together, talk about our struggles as black athletes in this country. The shutdown happened. Me and my teammate Brandon Miller were like, listen, here, we got to capitalize on this moment. We got to, shut down too and form our own black players group as well for the league. And so in 3 days, from Wednesday to Saturday, basically honestly Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning, we were on the phone with the USL headquarters for 12 hours a day, forming our group, letting the league know we're going to protest at this time, letting the national broadcast and ESPN Plus know that we want the announcers to say this and this. And so, just definitely capitalizing on that moment was a very impactful and important, and we were galvanized with all the other groups. They aligned with us as well, too. And then to this day, we helped form, the United Against Racism campaign at the USL, got a DEI position at the USL headquarters, which is no longer there, unfortunately. But we got Chris Boosie at the headquarters, too. And, a lot of impactful stuff happened because of the group.
It's incredible what you're doing. I'm curious, how has the UBP evolved from the reaction to now current events in a sustainable pathway for young minority players today?
Yeah, so we provide free coach education courses for our players. We provide free coach licensing as well. We give 1 or 2 black players in the whole USL a free full scholarship to get their coaching licenses as well, too. We stand for our black players if any racial moment happens in the league. So when those moments happen, we immediately call the players, support him, get them a call with the players union, get them a call with the league, and, kind of put our foot down and hopefully come to some conclusive evidence and some kind of reprimand for the player who said it or who, felt some kind of way about it as well, too, because, unfortunately, a lot of these things when it comes to racial moments gets put under the rug and a lot of hearsay and a lot of, false evidence, they would say, too. So this is where we come in, supporting our players as well, too, and making sure they feel inclusive, because this league is over 40%, almost 50% minority as well, too. So it's important to have us some representation on these calls and representing our players, too.
I mean, obviously, it's February, it's Black History Month, and I applaud every effort you do. And thank you. I just want to say thank you, because we do need more inclusivity. We need more diversity. And you, too, are a storyteller. You're a media guy, which is really cool that I'm conversing with a fellow podcaster. You founded Backyard Footy, which was the YouTube. I know it's now become Backyard Entertainment. Before we get into this, what are some of the links and places we could find you before we dive deeper?
Yeah, great question. So we're on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Backyard Entertainment, YouTube, Backyard Entertainment, TikTok, Backyard Entertainment. Like, I started off on YouTube or Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but I'm not just audio anymore. I'm at every single, women's and men's game out here. So it's, kind of tough to transform that live podcast into an actual audio for podcasting on Apple and Spotify. So definitely tap in on Instagram and YouTube. We're doing weekly videos and weekly interviews of all their players as well.
You're amazing. Amplifying the authentic voices of athletes. I love what you're doing. So, often athletes are said, stick to sports. Why did you feel it necessary to create Backyard Footy and give players a platform to tell their own stories?
Yeah, man, a couple things. One, I wanted to be more than just an athlete. Wanted to not just be labeled, X and X Pro, which is cool, but, label something else that I'm doing extracurricular wise off the field. That was one thing. Two, before I started my own brand, 2018, 2017, I'm in Philly, ESPN, watching my couch, First Take. We all watch First Take, and I'm watching them talk about cornhole and can jam, all kind of stuff. I'm like, man, these guys never talk about soccer. So how can I do something cheap and affordable? And this is where podcasts are just getting started that can, talk about the game of soccer. So that's where that mindset came from. 2018 officially started. But also maybe a deeper one as well, too, is one thing I couldn't stand. I guess this is really just me early on. But, I'll go home in the off seasons, go hang out with the friends, parties, social events. Because I was the only pro, a lot of times in certain environments, everyone was happy for me. And, Hugh, you're a pro, and it's so good to see you, yada, yada. But they didn't necessarily talk to me and hold conversations with me. So it's like, great, you're a pro. How's your season going? All right, then we turn your back on you and we go have other conversations with my corporate people. But because I'm not corporate and I'm just an athlete, maybe because I'm the only pro, so you feel that you can't hold a conversation with me because you don't know what I'm going through or their environment. A lot of the times I'm also not included in conversations just because I was an athlete. And so me personally, I would just get a little frustrated with that some because I felt like just because I'm an athlete doesn't mean I can't be in your conversation just well, doesn't mean I don't know what you guys are talking about. And I feel like a lot of athletes as well too get that notion. It's like we're good athletically, good in our realm, but we don't know anything outside of corporately as well too, which is actually the complete opposite because we thrive under pressure and we do this every day as a living. And now that I'm in the corporate side, a lot of people can't handle pressure. And I'm like, if y'all are in the athlete world and the environment, you understand how to handle pressure so much better. But we'll get to that aspect as well too. So those things kind of drove me, and I wanted to, prove that I was more than an athlete. And so that's why I started the brand as well too, but also my mission to help, my black and brown people as well too. And so my life really just, it wasn't like, I'm seeking the whole time. I want to be the founder, co-founder of the United Black Players Association. I want to, be a part of a racial moment that then sends me to the USL headquarters in Florida, and then we create a United Against Racism and bring Chris Boozy to the DEI position. Like those things just transpired because my heart's mission when I was younger was to help my black and brown people early on, and then life transpired that way. And it's just funny how life works out, even to me being in this position now. So those things were always on my heart, and so it's funny how life played that way, man. But yeah, those things just drove me my entire time, and so literally to this day is why I do what I do, and speak up for my people because of way back then in my mission too.
Well, forever, whoever those people were who weren't giving you the time to speak, their loss, dummies, because let me tell you, far from just an athlete, you are a media entrepreneur, my brother. So I am so excited to have you here. I want you to share with some of the younger players, maybe some parents, that they can translate to their children. What's the biggest misconception that fans may have about this glamorous life of a professional soccer player?
Yeah. I didn't have a summer since senior year of high school, 17 years old. Didn't have a summer up until last year. Last year was the first time. I'm 32 years old, from 17 to almost double my entire life. Now that I actually have some time to enjoy myself, I left my family right after college as well too. And I never had an opportunity as well to, go to barbecues, go to birthday parties. I went to one wedding my entire career and I got actually punished for it. And so I never went to another friend's wedding again. And I felt so bad, even though I was in weddings, because of what happened. That one club, it scarred me for life, where I was like, all right, I can't do this again. I'm sorry. But, I wish I did a lot of those things. So, yes, there's a lot of glitter and glamorous as well too, but there's a lot of pressure as well too. I'll be very honest. It's no longer, when you're middle school, elementary, middle, high school, it's like your teammates are your boys and your friends on and off the field. Y'all go to everywhere together and everything. But now when you turn pro, you're affecting people's lives and you're affecting people's families. And so literally, I'm coming to the league at 21, but I'm also on the team. Richmond was the oldest team at the time. Everyone's in their 30s plus or late 20s. So they got kids, they have families to provide for. So if I'm not performing and I'm messing up in games, I'm messing up their contracts and their situations with their families, their bonuses, etc. And so they'll either yell at you and let you know, or, some punishment is going to happen as well too. And so now I got older in my career. These young kids are affecting my dollars as well too. And so it's no longer, this is my buddy, this is my buddy. You might only have one buddy on the team, period, the whole year. And you got to understand that a lot of these teammates are now co-workers and you're here to do a job. And everybody's also gunning for your spot. And just because, every single day is a trial. It was never one day where I felt, besides playoffs times, you can actually feel like, okay, I'm here as a starter. But besides that, every single day your job is on the line. If you don't perform in practice, you will, let's say 2 days in a row specifically, you will be on the bench that weekend. If you fumble in that game, you will not be starting, and you cannot, as a center back, they don't really rotate center back. So you miss that starting opportunity. You might not play for months until that center back gets hurt. And then there goes your opportunity. And that plays a role in your mental. You might get loaned out. You might go downhill. You might regress instead of progressing too. And so a lot of little things and nuances that play a role in that as well too. You might move to a new city away from your family, like I did in Monterey, California. I thought California, of course, California is sunny, California is beautiful, but there's a lot of traps in certain environments as well too. Just a quick tidbit. I had an electric bike in Monterey, California, and I got pulled over 6 times on my electric bike in 2 months. And I was traumatized, straight up traumatized as an athlete living in a whole new environment. And it scarred me for life, honestly. I bet. Those things you have to deal with on and off the field, and then you have to perform. You got to deal with these guys A lot of little nuances, man, and I'm not knocking it. I'm not telling people not to go pro at all because the lifestyle is great. You're done at, 12, 1 o'clock every day. You're playing ball, what you love and you dream. But when it comes to the business side of it, it is a business. And you realize now, because you're a business, you could think, oh, I did so well this year. It's a guarantee. I'm going to have a major max contract. Because you did so well, now you cost the club more money. And now you cost the club more money, they might go the younger route. And it happened to me as well, too. And they might think like, oh, you're replaceable just because you did well. Thank you. Let's go to the next person. Oh, you did bad. Obviously, you're going to not be there anymore as well, too. So it's also two sides of a coin as well, too, man. So it's a lot of nitty gritty. That's why it's just the most important. Just keep your mental strong through it all.
Lots of intensity, lots of pressure, lots of stress. So, in essence, hanging up the cleats, which I know you haven't officially done because you're still playing, but you are no longer professionally playing. The next chapter, the U.S. Soccer Foundation. So, I want to talk about transitioning into this key role as Associate One for Programs East. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
So what is it as a staff role? How does it feel to be on now the other side of the game as you're scaling programs like Soccer for Success? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, man. Honestly, it feels great to be in this, obviously be on the corporate side, but more so being a part of an organization that not only still is involved in soccer, but it's also doing the charitable work that I've been doing as an athlete, and that also aligns with my mission to help under-resourced communities. The CEOs kind of on the same similar mission that I was on my whole life as well too. So it's not nothing where like I knew a contact, hit the contact up, they got me in. I really just applied like everybody else applied, and I was blessed that they hit me back and took 2 months to get, approved and signed the contract there. But here we are. But yeah, man, to be a part of an organization that also provides free resources. So my role is to help provide our under-resourced communities with free resources. We provide educational resources, even after school programming, curriculum, free balls, goals, etc. I'm connecting with other organizations like yourself as well too to bring our after school programming, bring our coach mentor free educational resources to clubs and organizations as well too. So be on the corporate side, honestly, like I said, my mission is to be a general manager, sporting director as well, and learning these nuances goes a long way, and it's important as well too. So I've always wanted to transition into a corporate side at some point. Didn't know when. I always wanted to be involved in the role in soccer and do some foundation work too. So to be in this position is such a blessing every day. I'm thankful for it for sure. I can make more of an impact because I'm on the corporate side, and I can do more stuff as well too.
See, it's that business sense that I think truly sets you apart, and you're going to be getting in there and you could truly make some amazing differences. And you have the MBA. I'm curious, how are you using the data-driven background to improve soccer programs here in the East region?
Yeah, so data tells a story, and that's why I got my MBA in business analytics as well too. And looking at our numbers, for example, we looked at numbers here and realized girls are quitting at a young age before the age of 13. We use numbers to also portray our stories. Like 88% of kids who go through our curriculums as well too feel like they're, better outcomes and they're better community members as well too. And so a lot of little nuances like that helped us galvanize our curriculums, help us realize, what markets we need to focus on. For example, we're very heavily focused in Miami, New York, and DC, but what's going on in, Atlanta, what's going on in Mississippi, Alabama. Everyone needs programming out there too, but just because we don't have stuff there in our system doesn't mean we can't reach out to folks out there too. And so, having my contacts through the USL, been, heavy USL focus, being we just did one with the Charlotte Independence, just did one last week with Detroit City FC, Louisville's coming up, Tampa Bay Rowdies are coming up eventually too. I'm honestly trying to do a full national partnership with the USL in general too. And so it's a blessing to be able to provide these resources, but we use data to tell us and depict what stories to tell, what angle to approach certain clubs based on their community needs, and how we can impact communities better based on their data.
Let me tell you, we're all blessed to have you doing what you're doing to grow this game. Thank you, Hugh. We appreciate you. And we are getting towards the end. I have really just one personal question I want to throw in here. And I know you have recently become a dad.
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm curious. Yeah, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
How has your perspective on the beautiful game and its future in America changed now that you're a father?
Now that I'm a father, I'm a girl dad too. So, I was focused on the women's side for sure, but my eyes are even more open on the women's side now. I actually just formed a partnership with the Carolina that sent the women's team out here too. And it's just funny that my company is starting to be more involved in the girls game and that I have a daughter now too. And it just tells me that we really still got to make sure we have a lot of systematic, like it really starts with like the youth and the grassroots before we even get up to the U17s elites, the pro teams and the clubs. That we got to do better with the grassroots and the youth. So like breaking down the pay to play system, get more of us like-minded coaches into the environment as well to create more welcoming environments for players as well. Like I said, girls are quitting before the age of 13. So how are we, retaining girls, recruiting girls, and keeping girls in the sport? And so even at the foundation, we have women-specific programming like Count Her In, which teaches clubs and organizations ways to better recruit girls, retain girls, and educate you on how to better communicate with girls, because we need girls to stay into this sport. So especially on that tip, I never really dove too deep into it, but now that I have my daughter, I'm heavily focused on this as well too, to make sure she's in a more inclusive environment as well too, because it's similar. I know my whole story is on the male side, but it's very similar to the women's side as well too, probably even worse. Yeah, it's really just sparked my motivation even more, honestly.
I love that. Well, we need to evolve U.S. soccer, and I am so happy to know that you are there and leading the way. So, fam, I am so happy to have Hugh here on the line. Thank you for your time. Now, we wrap up the podcast with this feature called Priestley's Quick Kicks. Fast questions, quick answers, some fun stuff. And then we're going to cut you loose, brother, so you can go enjoy your day today. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, welcome. Here we go. What's one piece of advice you would give a young player who's talented yet lacks that mental edge you often talk about?
You got to find yourself. I think the biggest thing is you have to have a goal, and that goal is going to fuel you for your entire life. And so my goal, of course, was MLS. That was a big hanging fruit over my head, but my deeper goal was to help my Black and brown people in any way that I can. That goal wakes you up every morning when you're tired, when you're struggling. School's crap. My friends are crap. I'm frustrated. I can't do whatever. That goal, you're hungry and determined. I want to go to college at least. I want to go to D1. Get up. Wake up every morning. I literally didn't have a job for 10 months last year transitioning before I got to the foundation. So, I could have been a bum on my couch every day, but, my wife was pregnant. I wanted to make a difference. So I got up at 5 o'clock every single morning, figured out a way to make money, provide for the roof over our head. But those not having that, if I didn't have a goal, I probably wouldn't even been here to this day, because I would have been defeated, in some kind of mental funk that just couldn't get me out of that dark place. And it's very tough if you don't have, yes, you need friends, parents to get you out of the hole, but my whole life I left my family at 17, so it was just me and me, and so it's gonna be just you and you in this world. So you got to figure out your own motivational purpose, your own goals to get you out of that funk and get you motivated each and every day, and that will drive you, I promise you, because the last thing you're gonna want to do is feel like you didn't do enough in that day, and because you have that goal and that motivation, it's gonna wake you up and get you going.
True words of wisdom. I love it. If you could play one match with any player in history, who would be your partner in the center of defense?
At center back. I'm a Barcelona fan, so I gotta go with my guy Gerard Piqué.
I
like Piqué a lot too. I'm trying to think. There's probably one more center back at the top of my head, and I love Virgil van Dijk as well too. It's toss up between those two for me. But I'm one of those center backs. Of course, is hard and getting stuck in, but also very good on the ball, calm, cool, and collected as well too. So those two I would love to play with.
All right, before you step on that pitch, what's the one hype song that it's got to be on your pregame playlist?
Honestly, I never really had just one song. I love music. I'm a big music guy. Okay. I'm more of like current event music. So whatever's hot and popular at that time, I'm throwing it on and making sure I'm motivated at that time too. So, I'm a big Lil Wayne fan growing up.
Nice.
Future, Drake, of course, all them guys as well. So anything, my whole career was from 2014 on to 2024. So it's like Drake's era heavy. Migos was heavy up there for me as well too. So
love.
Yes.
Awesome. All righty. How about this? Which USL stadium had the best atmosphere or pitch for an away game?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's two that comes to mind. Louisville before the new stadium. The new stadium's amazing. It's MLS quality. We had a playoff game there, and so playoffs are different than regular season. But their old first stadium was one of the toughest environments in the whole USL for a lot of reasons, and that was like I never won in my entire career there ever. The best I did was draw. No matter how many teams I played with, they never lost really at that stadium. It was very tough to play. And that, and I gotta give it to. It's a toss up between the Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Tampa Bay Rowdies. Riverhounds had the best supporters section, like behind the goal, talking crap behind you. But the Rowdies environment was a very tough atmosphere. But every time you play at the Rowdies, the ref gives them whatever. So it's a laughing joke, but man, you just knew you never went into the Rowdies place because you have the refs, fans, everyone going against you too, man. So yeah, it was a tough one every time.
All right, last but certainly not least, what do you want the Hugh Roberts II legacy to be 20 years from now?
Yeah, I want people to know that I was, more than an athlete, made an impact outside of who I am as an athlete on the field, and I want to create, just everlasting impact. So even I'm 70, 80 years old, whatever I establish is still running without me having to be involved. Systematic things and systems in place. Even on my charitable side, I'm always, doing foundational work where not necessarily I have to be there in person every time, but I'm, creating schools or, hotels for the homeless or something where like it's established forever, even when I, pass away in like 100+ years, but pass away, like there's still things that are left everlasting because of some of the work that I did as well too. So I would love that to be, everlasting in what I do before I step away too.
I see it. It's going to be a beautiful legacy. I promise this. Brother, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today and being on the line.
Amen, my man. Thank you so much for your time today. It's a very good show. I really enjoyed my time here.
Huge thanks to Hugh for dropping gems on everything from the Ironman mindset to his new mission at the U.S. Soccer Foundation. You can follow his journey and work with Backyard Footy on social media to see how he's continuing to bridge the gap between sports and community. As always, thanks for joining us on the line. We'll catch you next time. Thanks again, Hugh.
Thank you, guys.